Start good. Oh, yeah. Me too. I was in the back slapping myself in the locker room.
These chairs come up. You kind of tall.
They get. Oh, I can come down a little bit. There you go.
Years fly by, huh? Since the last time we did this.
Yeah, 'cause I did one the first year and did one last year. This wasn't built till like a year ago, so it was just trying to find the space and the time. And we were playing catch up, and it was
And I had my little girl.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Whenever you.
Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Just wrapped up player interviews here at Acadiana Renaissance. Sitting there in the weight room. Beautiful state-of-the-art facility that you got here, Coach. Thank you for opening your doors. Thank you for being a great friend. It's an honor to be here today, talk a little Eagle football with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I share the sentiment of a lot of coaches in the area when it comes to your coverage of high school sports. You know, these kids work hard. I mean, you heard a lot of what they've been doing this summer. They work hard, sun up to sundown, and it's good that they get some recognition. So we appreciate what you do and what your platform does, bringing coverage to high school sports.
Thank you, Coach. First off, let's get your thoughts of how your players just represented your program. You got a good group there, Coach.
Extremely proud of them. The first thing is it's not easy to speak if you haven't been trained on it. When I was fortunate to be a college athlete, they gave us trainings, and this is what you say to the media, this is what you should do, shouldn't do. We've taken communications classes. To be a 14, 15, 16-year-old high school age kid to get on a camera with the questions not in front of them and answer from the heart. It says a lot about the kids. And then for these kids personally who I've got to watch grow from the beginning, to see their maturation throughout their process is absolutely outstanding. I thought they represented us well. And, you know, to bring a team leader like Fabian into the fold who transferred to us, and for him to just fit right in and understand the 1-0 mindset, what it means, I'm very proud of these young men.
Building it from the ground up, how rewarding is this journey been?
So the big thing is they kind of hit the nail on the head. Everything matters. Everything's a first. Everything's new, and you know. So you win a JV game, and they're ready to pour water on you and celebrate. It's like I'm like, all right, we're on to the next one, and it's like my coach had to remind me last year, Coach, it's the first win in the history of the school. Like, enjoy it, And then when you start looking back, that's the first touchdown we've ever had. That's the first varsity touchdown. It's the first varsity game. It's a lot of first, and it's pretty cool to be a part of the foundation. It's really cool to have this journey alongside the kids because it's new for them, but it's new for us as a coaching staff too. So it's rewarding in the fact that you're constantly progressing, starting from the bottom and moving up. It's really cool to see.
You've had a vision for this program when you first arrived. New team, new stadium, new everything. You're checking off a lot of boxes along the way. Where's your vision now? Are we still same vision?
So when I came in here, I presented like a 1, a 3, and a 5-year plan. So we're on year 3, and so now it's last year. We were playing games, but it wasn't to we want to win, but it wasn't to go and win 10 games or whatever. The 1-0 mindset kind of applies to everything. It's okay. Let's learn how to host a scrimmage. Let's learn how to host a jamboree. Let's learn how to travel for a road game. Let's learn to have pregame meals. Let's learn to. There's so many intricacies in a football program that you don't even realize until you are in the middle of doing them or trying to coordinate them and plan them for the first time. And so, now we're in year 3 where everything's been established. Now let's see what we look like as a fully functioning football program. Now there's no excuse for us to be late getting on the bus. There's no excuse for us to be late to pregame meals, to be late to team meetings, to miss Saturday film. The kids kind of know now what excuses are acceptable misses and those things. So now that we're in year 3, we want to look like a fully firing program. And then going to year 5, that's where we start to look at the wins and losses. Now we've had 5 years, we've had a senior class. Now we want to start competing for district honors and playoffs and all those things.
3 years. I remember 4 years ago, you were here. You had to tone it back down and get it back up to that point? Do you feel like you've arrived back here yet, or are you still growing as a coach, knowing that it's had to start from the bottom?
Well, if you ask me, I think I'm down here
Still
as a
here.
coach. I'm always going to be down
Yeah.
here, and I think it's important as a man never to get too
Correct.
high or too low on your own accomplishments
Right.
and those things. I'll say
Just toning it down.
When I say toning it down, I think it's in my behavior. It's kind of a hothead. I like to joke that I'm a reformed hothead, but just kind of in that head coaching role, learning to kind of take things as they go and to try and be a little more level-headed with decision making and taking the emotion out of decision making and those things. But as far as the growth journey, 1-0 is not just something we say in our football program. It's something I say to myself every day. The opportunity to get better is always there. It should be there for all of us, and so that's the mindset I've adopted for myself. And as a leader, you should always reflect inward and say, what could I have done better today? And I'm harder on myself than anybody. We could have a great day. We could score 40 points, and I'm going to be upset because I probably didn't give that kid the leadership he deserved. So it's a constant thing of progression and growth that I'm hoping to model for our kids.
There you go, Coach. I know we want to focus on this year, and I have to ask the crazy question here. A year away, how close is this program for being ready for varsity play?
Well, ready or not, it's going to be here, and so right now we're not focused on the record. Of course we want to win. I'd be a fool to say, we don't want to win, but we don't focus on the record as much as we focus on 1-0, and it's been my mindset wherever I've been, but it's really important here because of the fact that we're building. So we can't have the building done if we don't have the first brick down.
Correct.
So you see it on the wall there, brick by brick. That's our athletic director's motto for our entire athletic program. And, the big thing for us, I think we are significantly closer to ready than we've been. Obviously, as we get older and stronger and more mature, we'll see some of those things. But it's, like I said, ready or not, it's going to be here. And we got to do our job as coaches to put the kids in the best chance to succeed and put the best product out there for our fans.
Do we have a classification that we're going to be in? And do we have an idea of where we could potentially fall district-wise, if you know anything?
That's the big mystery right now because our enrollment's going to be close this next year. We're in 3A enrollment because we turned in our numbers 2 years ago. So all the other sports are in the Erath, Kaplan, Abbeville district. We won't be there in this next redistrict. So depending on who goes up and down, we could be in 4A. That's that Turlings, Rain, North Vermilion, that district, North Side, Westgate. We could be 5A, and that would be the Lafayette High, Acadiana, South Side, Barb, Sulphur. And then putting us up there may make the district too big. They may split it. So it's been an interesting thing with scheduling because people call it a schedule, and it's like, look, I can't commit to anything if I don't know how many district games we're going to have. And I'd rather be late to the party than put another coach in a bad position and say, sure, we'll play you week 5, but then that's a district game, and I got to send that coach back in. I don't want to do that to another coach in the area. I know how hard it is to schedule as it is. So just a lot of what ifs, but the big thing we just focus on is ourselves right now. And when that time comes, we'll worry about it when it's here.
Absolutely. I do have to ask you one last question about that.
Mm-hmm.
The rules behind these new football programs. You started as freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
Some schools start as JV.
Mm-hmm.
You got a 5A school in the state of Louisiana that was eligible right away.
Mm-hmm.
How's those process work? Because, they were eligible to play right away. You went the long route. Some schools go 2 years. How's all that work out?
Well, for us, part of it was the school didn't have a true senior class till I believe 2 years ago. School's going to be 11 years old this year. So even if we wanted to have, we wouldn't have had seniors. So the initial proposal when I got brought up about this job was just to start in middle school with no high school ball. But as you saw by the young men up here, we have a really talented, there'll be a junior class this year, and they're really track. And so we wanted to keep these boys here, and a lot of these boys did play football. So we decided to start with that freshman group. And look, it was a lot on that initial coaching staff that we were coaching high school and freshmen pretty much at the same time, 2 games a week, practicing them all together, trying to find ways to get reps for everybody and make sure everybody was getting fairly coached. And that was probably part of some of our struggles that first year, is we were stretched too thin. But the most rewarding thing is the way the timeline pans out. When that group of kids are seniors, it'll be our first year of varsity football, and then we'll kind of be there. So I was okay with taking the long route. The big thing when I took the job was you're going to miss Friday night, and that was the sacrifice we were going to make to build the correct way, we thought. If we had in a couple of years we'll have 1,200 kids. If we had 1,200 kids and we had a bunch of football playing kids, we may have taken the idea to go into it right away. But we decided to play the long game, and I think that was what was beneficial for our program.
Yeah. Take me back to the first time you saw the brand new stadium, and take me back to that first win on it.
So the first time we got to see the stadium, our athletic director and our administrative team, there was a lot of stuff that our principal had hands-on planning with. I mean, everything from the direction the stadium faces to what color the lockers were. And so they both kept me very involved in the process. And I got to come down here and see it when it was just a wide open building. Then I got to see, the lights go up. Then I got to see, so we were kind of in and out because we were in the planning phase. So when it finally got revealed, I was actually on vacation. And so I didn't get to see it until we came back the 4th of July week, I believe it was. And we got to watch the fireworks. I took my daughter up to the top of the press box. We got to watch the Youngsville fireworks across the street. So it was surreal to be here. And that first win, like I said, I get so caught up in the 1-0. It's like, yeah, we won. Okay, we got a varsity game next week against Hanson, and there's a hurricane that might be on the way, and my mind's there. And Cole Delka, my offensive coordinator, had to text me and was like, dude, it's okay to enjoy the win, and I enjoyed it. I was so happy for the kids. They had earned it. There was even some adversity in that game, and it was just really cool to see our kids overcome and finally get to feel what it felt like to win. So looking back on it, I look back at it with fond memories, but at the time it was tough for me to enjoy it because I was so process oriented.
Third off season here, your third summer here with the guys. How's it been going?
Well, the biggest thing, you look at our record board, and I tell this story all the time, the strongest kid in the entire school squatted 335 pounds. And that's not because the kids were weak. We're not a very old athletic program. And I'm looking at the board over there right now. I mean, we're going to have 10-plus kids over 400 pounds in the squat, multiple 225-pound power cleaners. The athletic director has trusted me to lift all of our sports, and so we had 4 baseball players today that don't even play football get 225 up on their chest, and so it's pretty good to see the growth across all the athletic programs. And then our football players, where they're most bought in is the processes we have in place. I mean, you saw all of them look at each other when you said, what do y'all do in the weight room? Don't sit.
Yeah.
Make sure you're working. Don't skip your superset. You can tell it's ingrained in them, and the culture that we want for them is ingrained in them. I don't even have to explain the workouts anymore. They come in and they just start warming up on their own, and that's how I know we're taking the steps necessary. And then now that they're bought into the percentage system, they're bought into the linear progressions that we have for them, they're bought into what we do outside, the kids understand, okay, I'm going to do these things, and I'm going to get better every time we retest. And so that has been probably one of the things I've been most excited about, is to watch us go from, we couldn't squat 2 plates to, kids doing sets of 10 and 12 at their old maxes.
Going into this summer, what were some areas you wanted to attack?
Well, the first thing is just to continue to improve our processes. Let's make sure we're on time. Let's make sure we're in the right uniform. That was a big one for me. It sounds silly, but I'm all about uniformity. They'll tell you, I probably complain more about the locker room being dirty or them not wearing the right clothes than anything we do on the field. And so just cleaning up some of our process. Okay, we're going to wear this on this day. We're going to do this on this day, and creating cultural norms for our program where, as these guys who are sophomores and juniors get older, they're just going to be able to usher the kids on to that next thing. From a football standpoint, we changed defenses, and we wanted to make a concerted effort to stop the run. That is kind of our focus. So our defense isn't great for Pascal. people throw all over us, but you're kind of supposed to when your defense is committed to stopping the run. So that's one of our big focuses from a football standpoint, and then creating balance in our offense. And balance is, and I love the Mike Leach quote, balance, 50% run and 50% pass is 100% stupid. Balance to us is getting all of our playmakers touches and getting those guys the ball. And so designing our offense in a way that all of these guys can make plays for us. You heard them mention some of our playmakers' names. Getting these guys touches and getting these guys opportunities to create for us has been a priority for us on offense.
Let's go to your schedule. When you're trying to put together a schedule, whenever we are still in the years leading up, how do you find teams to play you? How do you find dates to work? And if it's a varsity team that you are playing, how's that work? Does it hurt them, power rankings wise? I mean, how the little details.
There was an initial confusion. Other programs that were doing what we were doing could offer PowerPoints only in the games you played varsity. So if you played 5 JV games and 5 varsity games, you only gave PowerPoints for those 5 varsity games. So for us being a 3A school, we convinced smaller schools to play us under the guise that if they beat us, they would get the 14, 16, whatever it was, PowerPoints. And then right before the season, so some of these smaller schools with an open date said, sure, if I play you and you don't win a single game, I still get 16 PowerPoints, which is like playing somebody in my classification that has to win 6 games.
Okay.
So it was a no-brainer for some of the schools that we scheduled. And right before the season, the LHSA came down and said, hey, you can't play for PowerPoints. You're not playing for district honors. You're not playing for playoffs. So I called all the schools that were varsity schools on our schedule and said, like, look, this is the deal. And they held on for us last year. Only one school dropped us this year. They got an opportunity to play somebody closer to them for PowerPoints. And so they had to take it, and I understand. But some of the schools reached out to us, like, look, Coach, you got schools that drop football or schools that close or schools that, so these schools are left with a bye week, and you don't want to take one of those Friday nights from your kids. So your options are, I can go play ARCA. I won't get any PowerPoints, but I'll get the gate or I'll get the playing experience. Okay. Or I can just sit at home. And a lot of coaches, you work so hard all summer, you don't want to sit at home for 2 weeks of your season. So I'll go play that school. We have a turf field, so we don't have to worry about weather. So people have come to us and got a couple schools coming to us from New Orleans this year to play a varsity Friday night because. And
we're lining up varsity on varsity. This ain't your varsity against their JV.
Yeah, this is even last year, when we played Glenbrook, it was, our babies. We picked up a couple of junior transfers, but we're still very, freshman, sophomore heavy at this point. Mm-hmm. And I saw Southside do it, and you look at what they are now, a perennial powerhouse in 5A. That's what they did when they had freshmen, sophomores. They were playing. I remember I was at VC. They played Central Catholic of Morgan City, a predominantly top 10 1A school, and that's how they got themselves better. So that's who we scheduled. And yeah, I told our kids, yeah, you're gonna be playing against older kids. And some of these parents wanted to, put me on a fence post, but the Glenbrook game was a big moment for our team because I told the kids, see, if you do all the things we tell you, you do your job, you play hard, you're rewarded. You scored more points on a varsity opponent than you scored all last year.
Right.
And it's funny we lost, but you saw the season really shift right there for our kids. So it has been hard getting people to agree, and then now that this next time around, we'll be a little bigger school, we're pretty high on people's list to play.
Give me your thoughts on your 2025 schedule. Any open dates, Thursdays? Are you playing Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, so we're calling them our varsity. It's our older kids, and really in the coaching office, I say old group, young group, okay. Right? So, and I see Brock Prejean's watching. Shout out to Coach Brock, because I'm about to mention his program. But we're gonna play a blue versus white against ourselves, and we're gonna do it this year. We got enough kids. We're gonna draft.
It's gonna be like August, middle August.
Yeah, the 15th, so the week before St. Ed's. Then we're gonna play St. Ed's, and then. We're going to play VC in the Jamboree. And so what you see is St. Ed's wins their quarterfinals. VC went to the Dome. Mm-hmm. Our kids got to line up against quality programs.
Playing right here?
Yep, both are here. Coach Shiver has been awesome to me when I was at Westminster, and we're still great friends now and got to coach an all-star game together. And, he needed a spring game, and he needed a scrimmage, and my scrimmage opponent, he's really good friends with the coach out of Woodlawn, and he said, Coach, I don't want to drop y'all because we have a deal, but I can go to I said, and help my friend. I said, it was Coach Falk. I said, Coach Falk, that's fine because I can help my friend from St. Ed's find a scrimmage. So we get to go against, a good program, and then we get to play, Vermilion Catholic in our Jamboree. And that's 2 varsity games back-to-back.
So how about those details that night? Is it going to be just one game?
No, it's 2 games. So J.S. Clark is going to play Hanson varsity before us, and then we're going to play VC after them. So we're the second game of the night. And that's going to be on a Thursday, 8/28. It's going to be here. So, and again, I know the job that coaching staff does, and the thing I try and get our kids to model about Vermilion Catholic High School is you watch those kids play. There are, on defense, there's 11 maroon jerseys on the ball.
Yep.
Those kids play for each other. They love each other. They play hard, and it's one of the things that even if they're outmatched athletically, they're not outmatched on the field, and I want our kids to see that, It's a very well-coached program, so that's going to be great for us, great for our growth as a team, and I think it's going to be a pretty good little contest. Got a lot of roots there. So Thursday games, we play Hanson on 9/11. That's varsity. And then after that, they're all Friday games. So we play Morris Jeff out of New Orleans. We'll go to Oberlin on a Friday night, the Willow School out of New Orleans, Beauchene for our homecoming, then J.S. Clark at J.S. Clark.
Week 2, Coach.
Yeah, that's Hanson, 9/11.
Hanson, and where's it?
At Hanson.
At Hanson?
At Hanson, yeah.
Okay.
Coach Stute and I agreed. We went to his Jamboree last year, and then we had the hurricane. They were going to come to us. I was trying to get him to play here. He said, I'll tell you what, we'll give you the Jamboree if you can find us an opponent, and then you'll come to us week 2. So it was an easy deal for both of us to make happen. Again, teaches us how to do something. I think in the future we'll try and get Ascension Episcopal involved and get the schools around here. Yeah. If we're not in the Kiwanis, if schools aren't in the Kiwanis, they can play a Jamboree here, and we got the facility to host, and so want to take advantage of that for sure.
I remember Hanson well.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite games as a coach. And again, one thing I'm trying to get better at is enjoying these moments because we throw the 4th down touchdown, and
still got to go make a stop on defense.
And I'm screaming at everybody to get off the field because I don't want to get a penalty. So I can't even enjoy what just happened. And when he let it go, I was like, who in the hell is he throwing to? And then I see the kid catch the touchdown, and I got to get better at enjoying those moments. This is a game.
Yeah.
And this is about the kids, and the kids were excited, but I'm like, get off the field, you're about to get us a penalty.
Hey, I'm still looking for a week 2 Thursday. Put in a good word for me.
All right, gotcha. I'll talk to Coach Stute.
What do you want to see from your team in the scrimmage Jamboree? What do you want to see before we even get to the regular season?
Well, the first thing is people, we're not running trick plays in the scrimmage and things like that. We're going to run our base offense, our base defenses, right? Can you execute your base? Can you go out there and run your base plays against whatever they throw at you? Because most base plays are what we call a catch-all. You should be able to run it against anything. So it doesn't matter what defense they're in. If he tells you, I'm going to do this on defense, and he does something else, it shouldn't matter because you should have rules and those things. And for defense, can we line up? Can we play with technique, and then can we run to the football? Alignment, assignment, technique, tenacity on defense. So the scrimmage is just getting those things done right. And then, again, can't say enough good things about VC, but going against a championship program, and I want our kids to go out there and compete. I'm not going to sit here and say I won't be upset if we lose, but if we go out and we lose but we gave our best, the other team was better than you that night. If you go out and you lose and you left too much out there, your effort was bad, you didn't play as a team, you didn't execute, that's frustrating as a coach because then you hang that loss on yourself. Yeah. So I expect us to go out both games and compete, but I also expect us to execute. That's where it all starts. If we can execute in those 2 contests, it's going to carry over into the regular season.
Okay. How do you keep faith at the center when wins and losses can become the main focus?
It sounds absurd. You can believe me or not. The kids will tell you, I don't put my identity in wins and losses. My faith is at the center of who I am as a person. My family is where my identity. I am a husband to Caitlin, and I am a father to Luca, Lenny, and Andrew Banks. That's who I am as a person. And coaching is difficult because your success is deemed on your wins and losses. and the public perception of you is deemed on wins and losses. And the perception I care about is the 114 kids in that locker room, from 9 to 12th grade, and what they think at the end of the day. I would rather dance in their weddings than dance on the sidelines for one win, because that means you've made a lasting impact on them. And so, my identity is to try and lead them in the right path. And I feel like if you do those things and you put those things at the center, then the wins and losses take care of themselves.
Okay. Do you build your scheme around your players or make your players fit your system?
I studied this question. I knew you were going to ask that. So it's twofold, right? We have a system. Let's go with offense. We have a system. Mm-hmm. We run these plays, but it goes back to what I said earlier. Balance for us is getting those players the ball. So we are a multiple offense, and so with multiplicity comes the ability to do different things to put our kids in a position to succeed. So they mentioned the running backs. We have 3 running backs that are really, really talented. Kind of a do-all back, the guy that's getting the college visits and those things are Christian Aubrey. He looks like a big back, but he runs well, right? And he can catch out of the backfield. Dylan Young, absolute speedster. And then Aiden Lewis is kind of a hybrid between the two. And a borderline psycho would run into the brick wall if you let him. So, yes, we're a spread offense, but what stops us from getting in one of our spread formations, having all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time? Now who are you going to focus on? Okay. Because they can all 3 do different things. So the key in your system is to have your system be adaptable enough to get your players the ball. My father was a longtime wing T guy, and he went and studied the spread when he had Mike Desormeaux as his quarterback. He had to get that guy in space and make plays for him. Well, the following year, they had a really talented tailback, and he went to the eye because that was the best way for him to get that guy the ball and succeed. So while we won't change our offense completely, like because I have those 3 backs, I'm not going to the flex bone, but we can do things within our system to make sure those guys are touching the ball. The way we look at it on offense is we got 7 or 8 guys that can really do some things with the football. So how do we divvy up touches between those guys, and how do we make sure that we're attacking with all of those guys so a defense doesn't just hone in on one person? It's within our scheme, but the scheme is multiple enough to adapt to our players, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let's go to your quarterback, Dan. What's your process of teaching pre and post snap reads?
So I tell them, put your socks on. Every snap, put your socks on. SOCS. Where's your safeties? Where's the overhang if the team has one? If they're balanced, then there'll be a double overhang. For those of you moms at home watching, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to sit through this. And then where are the corners? Corners can play two techniques. They can be a cloud, they can sit, or they can bail. They can turn and run off, right? So when the quarterback processes those 3 things right there, right, then he kind of knows where he's going. Is it center field open or center field closed? Which side am I working? If they rotate, what am I going to do? So where's my blitz beater? Where's my help coming from? How am I going to protect this? So it sounds like a lot, but our quarterbacks go up there, you put your socks on, you know where the ball is going. And then we build our passing game where the ball has to come out quick. And if you start to pressure us a little bit, then we become screen heavy and try and keep people off of our quarterback. The biggest thing for our kids is to make life easy on the offensive line where they can protect our quarterback, where they're not thinking. Because if your mind's racing, then your feet aren't. So pre-snap, put your socks on. Post-snap, ball better be out pretty quick.
How often do you use motion, and what does it help you diagnose?
Well, the first thing, a lot of people use motion to find out if it's man or zone. That's the common sense answer. If the guy motions across the formation, the guy goes with him, it's man coverage. Yeah. For us, we do it to outnumber people sometimes. Sometimes we do it to get a guy a head start and get him the ball. Sometimes we use it just as eye candy. We'll have a guy running around the backfield, and they're high school kids. They're ADD. They're looking around, and then boom, there goes the run right under you. So we use it for a variety of things. I personally like motion. I think it makes the defense have to make a quick decision, and then sometimes their checks, I'm going to do this if they motion like this. Well, if you do it quick enough, they're trying to figure it out, and again, their minds are racing, so now their feet aren't, and you have an opportunity to hit them underneath.
Okay. How important is it for your offensive line to be disciplined and smart, not just physical?
So this is funny. It's funny you say smart, because my coaching philosophy is you got to coach like every kid is the dumbest kid you've ever coached. And you do that because it makes your language simple to the kids, and they can relay everything. So a coach a long time ago said they don't have to know they're running inside zone. They have to, know they're running whatever you call it, Alabama and Tide, whatever it is. The kids got to know Alabama and Tide in and out. And so we coach our kids with a system that's simple enough to where they're picking everything up, and they have to be disciplined. You got to hold your water. You can't get penalties, those things. Our big thing on offense is winning first down, stay ahead of the chains, because then we can pick up our tempo or we can attack the defense. But a holding penalty or a false start puts you in 1st and 15, 1st and 20. You don't got a lot on the play sheet for that. So very important for them to stay within the game down there in the trenches.
New quarterback going into this year.
He's been the only quarterback we've had.
Okay.
Yep.
Going in through his process through these last couple of years, he's been thrown to the fire. He's been through the storm. Have you seen him grow into the quarterback that you'll see this year?
So that varsity game, he threw for 300-something yards. I mean, he was I'm not saying the website because they're charging us now, but a certain website's Player of the Week, and or was one of the nominees for Player of the Week in his first ever real varsity contest. The biggest thing for him, his maturation, has been his leadership. And when he was a freshman the first year, somebody from the stands was yelling at the offensive line, and I could tell it bothered him because I was cleaning up, and I went in the locker room. He was sweeping the locker room by himself. I was like, "Are you okay?" And he went on this tirade about coach, they don't know how hard the O-line works, they're doing the best they can, we're just young, we got to get better. And it was that moment right there for me. I looked at him and I was like, okay, he gets it.
Yeah.
He's a vocal leader. He's the one who breaks the team down. He's the one who goes in there and he don't care if you're the biggest kid on the team or not. He's going to tell you, clean your locker up, do this. And then with that maturation comes the ability to slow things down on the football field and get a lot better. And he's had some solid competition behind him, and he keeps them off. I mean, we had to move the other kid to receiver. He's a good athlete, and he's a smart kid. And it's man, it'd be nice to get him some reps at quarterback, but let's put him at receiver and see what we could do. And he shined this summer. And, the one behind him is more of a runner, but he just keeps fighting them off. He does nothing to lose his job, and he goes out and performs during the summer and keeps his teammates lifted up. He's a phenomenal leader, and so we're definitely proud he's ours.
How much freedom does your players have to make adjustments on the field?
So they can't check out of a pass play to a run play, but they can go the other way if they see something. Now, they're not up there just calling bombs away and engage 8 on defense or whatever they say in Madden. They can't just go up there and say 4 verts every play, but there's certain things within our offense that they have the freedom to check with each other. And Maddox kind of pointed out earlier, they grab the whiteboard from us on the sideline. Maddox is actually one of the really smart ones. He'll grab it and he's drawing it up. He's got a coach, he's in a 4, not a, you said he's going to be in this week, but they went here. And, then they're smart enough, they've been doing it long enough now that they know what the next answer is. Well, if they're going to do that, we're going to run this. And that's what you like to see from your kids, and that's what the really good programs around here have kids that do.
How rewarding is it when you see it click on a Friday or a Thursday night for a player?
So I'll revert this back to all of us coaches teach, right? And any teacher watching this will probably feel the same way I feel. We call them aha moments in the classroom. When that kid has that aha moment. You're trying all these different ways to get through to them, and then it clicks, right? It's the most rewarding thing you get as a teacher. Well, coaches are teachers too, and so when you're teaching on the field, and that kid has that aha moment for you, it's always rewarding. For me, I think one of the toughest things in this generation is these kids don't believe in themselves a lot of times. They need that extra boost, that extra lift, and sometimes when the kid does something and they see what you see, there's no more rewarding feeling in football.
Coach, what does a prepared team look like beyond just knowing what the plays are for a game?
I've seen really good programs are calling out your plays before you run them just based on alignment, film junkies and those things. But it's preparation is not just, running the plays that are scripted for you, whatever it is. It's having the answers built in when things don't go your way, and so that usually speaks highly to a coaching staff when you take away their best player and they hit you with something else. If they got a stud running back, all of a sudden they got a guy with 200 yards receiving. Well, that's a good job of coaching on their part, taking what they give you and those things. So a team that's prepared is going to be able to handle whatever you throw at them.
Speaking of being prepared, over the years, I'm sure you had to, that first year, teach the kids the correct way to watch film. Talk to me about that process, and when do you feel like they really picked it up along the way?
I think last year when we had a facility to do it at, we had the stuff, because as Noah mentioned earlier, we had 7th and 8th graders and we had freshmen. The freshmen were okay at watching film, but the 7th and 8th graders like pulling teeth. They're like little chihuahuas. They want to talk, they want to laugh, they want to cut up. So did a lot more biscuit chewing in middle school film, trying to teach them how to do it than we did with the high school film. Once we got down here and you get a full coaching staff and you get your routines established, they know. And the thing we try to do as coaches is I don't believe in these really overtly long film sessions with high school kids. They just spend 7 hours in a classroom. So when you take them down here, if you go watch film for 2 hours, you're going to lose them. So we try and make our points that we want them to see, pretty quickly, and we try to not block out too much time. We're not sitting here for an extended period, beating it into their heads, because you'll lose their attention. So they've gotten a lot better at it, and we've also had to teach them, like, this is how you watch film if you're this position.
Yeah.
This is what, because we're guilty of as coaches too. We watch the ball and we watch the play, we watch what happens, and watch the result instead of trying to get better at your craft. So
Let's go to the practice field then. High intensity reps or longer teaching periods?
I want to get a lot of reps, and it's funny because my dad was one who liked to stop practice and go kid by kid and explain to them. And he was a wing T coach, so they had X amount of blocking schemes, and they were going to do these things really well. And for us, I tell them correct off the field or correct during breaks, or make notes on your script, because if I script 15 plays, I want to get all 15 plays in. I want to see what they look like, and if we mess something up, if it's a kid taking a wrong step, that's one thing. But if we're getting blown up in practice, it means it's probably not going to work in the game, and then we got to meet as coaches and fix that. So definitely up tempo on practice. Another thing is we up tempo our practice, so we don't have to sit here and condition them after. Again, they just spent 7 hours at school and 2-3 hours at football. It's time for these kids to go home. It's time for these coaches to go home to their families. Like, we're not going to sit here and condition for an hour after practice. If we move with a purpose around the practice field, you take away the need to do that.
Okay. What's the difference in a team that works hard and a team that competes every day?
Well, you can work hard and not be a competitor, if that makes sense. So then you can just, I tell our kids, you bow up or bow out. So you can come in the weight room and lift because you're strong, and you can come in here. I'll use the example of the locker room. Well, I clean my locker.
Yeah.
Well, that's not acceptable. Like, the whole locker room should be clean. So a team that competes understands all of those things that go into a winning formula, and they kind of lose the individualism. There's nothing wrong with working hard, but there's something wrong with not working hard for a goal. So if they come in here, well, I got the best bench on the team. Yeah, we just lost 60-0.
Yeah.
What's that do for us? So I think a team that competes is going to be the better team than just a team that just works hard.
How do you teach mental toughness to your players who haven't seen much success yet?
Well, success, the first thing I'll say is success is defined kind of on each individual basis, So success for one kid, a kid who's never lifted weights before and he's hit that new max might be success. And for some kids, it's all about the team, so the winning. But what we tell our kids, throw Thursdays, we have a very meticulous strength and conditioning plan. And in the plan, there's a toughness phase. And the scientific definition of toughness in our program is anything that would make a kid want to quit football. And that's the first thing we do, but it's not the act that makes them tough, I find. It's when the lessons they learn from it, such as we were talking about pulling the sled today. the whole team gathered around the last kid pulling the sled to make sure he got to the finish line. So it's learning how to be in those tough moments and learning to lean on your teammates, and I think that's the ultimate lesson that football can teach you.
So what do you lean on when things aren't going well in a game? Training, trust, leadership, something else?
Like me personally, you talk about like within the scheme of the game, like
you personally.
That's one thing I know I got to get better at. Very prayerful outside of coaching, and my family and my faith is what carries me. And in game, I have a spectacular group of assistants, and there's many times I'll look at Mo C and be like, I need you to call this next drive. Like I'm struggling. We had 2 3 and outs. Clearly, I'm not seeing it very well. Like I need you to, I trust you to give us success and move the ball. And then, for our defensive staff, they're pretty autonomous. I don't stick my nose in much of what they're doing. I give them certain things I want to see and drills we come together for. But after that, like I'm placing great trust in them. The other thing I will say, Coach Kevin McGee, he's our linebackers coach. He's coached 46 years. He's been a head coach in a bunch of places, and he's somebody that I typically lean on Friday night. Last year, Coach Larry Bro, as well as the DC, but also a former head coach, and those guys were instrumental in what we were doing, because when the emotions got high, I could turn to one of them and say, what should I do here? And they both done this long enough where they can say, like, you need to do this, or you need to do this, or I would do this. So that's probably where I would say I put my eggs in that basket.
Let's stay with the defensive staff. How's those conversations like right now? What have they been seeing out there from your group?
Well, it's unfortunate for the kids, but they're on their third defensive coordinator in 3 years, and so we're very lucky to have him. Coach Bryson Travassis, he was at Southern Missouri as a linebackers coach. He's been in a couple of colleges, some really good systems, coached under Napier at UL, so he's learned some great ball. And Coach Bro last year kind of filled in the last minute for us, because Coach Bryson was coming from college, and we couldn't kind of get him into the system. So now they're learning his system, and what you're seeing now is the kids trying to piece a lot of this stuff together. They're relating it to some of what they've done before, but it is a new system, and it's the kids learning the why, not just what the system is, but the why we do things the way we do. And again, our big commitment is let's try and stop the run. If you can stop the run in high school football, you got a pretty good chance to succeed. And so 7-on-7, the big thing is we're telling the kids, like, don't get discouraged. Like, this is not meant for you to get, 5-10 stops a day. This is meant for you to see these things and get better at your assignments. So, but we got an awesome defensive staff, so I have the utmost faith that they're going to get the job done.
So do you believe your players do understand the why behind the X's and O's now?
They understand it better, I'll say that.
Okay.
When we teach them something on offense, we can say this is why we're doing this, and it's working when they come on the sideline and say, like, Coach, we got to run this.
Yeah.
Or when they turn to the side, my favorite thing is the O-line looks at you and they're like yelling at you to run a run play because they want it. And I've said that many times on the headset, like, hey, the O-line wants it, you give it to them. Shout out JT Leger, swoosh looking elite. Just wish my hair was as good as his, and the guy comes from elite genetics. But
that's it.
And then, yeah, absolutely. And then on defense, again, new coach, new voice, and they're learning the whys behind his system, and they're definitely picking it up. The kids, you can hear they're all in the right place and knowing where they're supposed to be. So we're making strides there.
You finally got yourself a group where you can have you offensive and defensive, and you ain't got to see guys go both ways, or we're still in those early years?
We were lucky last year. We made a concerted effort not to play anybody both ways. We had some injuries in the secondary was decimated last year. It was just bad luck to be there last year, I guess. Like Fabian, who you met earlier, was a running back, and he may still take some carries at some point this year. But like I said, the three backs we have are pretty good, but he's fit right into our defense, and he's starting at corner for us. So Fabian's a guy who could cross over. Noah, who you met earlier, is he's the one who's getting all the love, recruiting and all that stuff, and he may project as a D end in college. And so I would be doing that kid a disservice not to let him put his hand in the dirt and rush passers and play the run. He did it when he was an 8th grader and he was unblockable. So, but what he does, the tight end for us, is so important that like we kind of gauge that with the kids. Where could this kid help us?
Yeah.
So we have a couple crossover players. I mean, heck, Christian Aubrey, our running backs, offered to go play linebacker if we've needed it. Aiden Lewis was offered to play in the secondary. So I mean, Blake Mitchell, another running back of ours, takes reps in there. So we have some crossover kids, but they have a primary position that they stay at, and they're kind of emergency services.
I got you. So we talked about the defensive staff. We talked a little bit about the offensive staff. How about we meet those guys at this time?
Before I do that, I want to shout out Coach Corey Brody. He came and he was working here for a little bit during the spring when he was coming from Lakeshore, moving home. We had a chance. We were going to try and make him the DC before he became a head coach again. And the joke is Corey Brody is the only defensive coordinator in the history of ARCA to give up 0 points. So I just want to tip my hat to him and shout him out. But
and he's also 0 for 4
on Under the Lights.
On Under the Lights. So
I'm 1-1. When y'all had that conversation, I started down that road, and I was like, okay, they've come twice, Hanson and Sacred Heart. Yeah, we were 1-1. That's when Holden picked against me. I never forgot it.
Yes.
But
we're gonna see Coach Brody week 4. So if they lose that night,
I don't think he's letting you back.
he's gonna put me on the block list.
So going down the coaching staff, first thing I will say, and the kids said it, I think we have a phenomenal coaching staff. Everybody thinks their dog's the most handsome, right? But these guys, man, they're the right mix of young and old and experience and energy and wisdom. And so on the offensive side of the ball, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks, Coach Cole Delcom, one of the top quarterback guys in the state when it comes to training. You can see the progress all of our quarterbacks have made. Wide receivers, Christian Humphreys, very productive career at Erath. He's played multiple collegiate sports, baseball, football, and track.
Okay.
So he's got a wide variety. So he still plays. I mean, you see the guy, he's in phenomenal shape. Great athlete in his own right, very knowledgeable of the game. I was getting tired of floating as the head coach. It was driving me up the wall. Like all I was doing was like pointing and complaining. So I'm going to do the tight ends this year just to have a position during Indo. Offensive line, Coach Colin Meir, call him Coach Chuckles. He played for me at Vermillion Catholic, great player in his own right, and he came on board right away. He said, look, I want to be a part of what you're building, and his growth has been phenomenal. And coach I'm really excited about is the former head coach at Lafayette Christian, Zach Lockard. His son goes to our elementary school, so he reached out to me and said, look, I still got the itch to coach. He's working a private job now, and he just wants to coach. He's gonna coach our running backs, as we've mentioned multiple times, probably our most talented group. It's almost like it's nice for them to have a guy with that kind of experience who can, mentor those guys and bring those guys along. And having another head coaching brain in the office certainly makes us better. So he was an exciting hire that we made this offseason. We go to defensive side ball. Coach Lane Broussard, you saw was sitting here earlier. Coach Lane does baseball for us as well, D-line. Linebackers, Coach Kevin McGee, longtime head coach in the area. Cornerbacks, Coach Bryant Gerard. He's a basketball assistant. He's coming over to football to learn. He was actually the head coach at Port Barry for basketball before he came here. He lives in the area. And then our defensive coordinator, Coach Bryson Travassis, will handle the other part of the secondary, and then he'll float on defense. So great experiences from college. I think he's going to be a head coach in this game one day, and I'm hoping we can kind of keep him around. All of these guys are just great teachers of the game, great human beings, great role models for our kids, and I'm just extremely blessed that they wanted to come to ARCA and wanted to build.
The running back room, speaking of the three, this offseason, was it more along the lines of we need to build up some strength, or we have to get better on our vision, footwork? What was the running back room? You say it's a really good group, so they had to go somewhere and get something done.
Well, the first thing, we had about 5 or 6 kids in that room not before the freshmen came in. And one of them, I shout this guy out because I just love the kid. A kid named Landon Dakota. Bowed up, tough kid. He broke his collarbone his freshman year, and he's a good athlete. And he would be able to play at some places, but this running back room's so loaded. And he's like, Coach, I just want to get on the field, So he went to safety, and so getting these kids in places where they can play was a big priority. And then in terms of their development, we could always be faster. All three backs have good speed in their own right. Christian's biggest leap was the weight room. His shoulders, he's a big, strong kid, but he didn't have like big traps. So like when he would squat, he had the legs to squat it, but he didn't have the traps to hold it on his shoulder his first year. Well, now he's turned into a man, and I mean, he's doing reps with his old Max the other day. So Aiden hasn't missed a rep in the weight room. And then for Dylan, it's keeping Dylan healthy and being in good conditioning, because Dylan runs so fast, and it seems like every time he touches the ball, it's a long run, and he has to come out of the game the next play. It's like we get a 40-yard run out of him, and we won't see him again for a quarter. So they've all improved their craft. And then Blade Mitchell, he's going to be a sophomore. He's a good back, and he's got great vision, but he's sitting behind three horses, and so finding carries for him, because he doesn't miss a rep in practice, and he practices hard and does all the right things. Getting him reps was a big priority for us too, especially because he'll probably dominate carries in those JV games. So
you had some cool moments this off season. Got to host the Malik Neighbors Camp. How cool was the experience that was?
Well, it was a lot more people than we expected. It was a lot hotter than we expected. I got to coach Malik. What a absolute blessing and fortune it was. His freshman year, we knew he was good. We didn't know he was this good.
Yeah.
And to see him give back to his community, and to see how humble he was, or how humbled he was, and it was just a really, really cool experience. And for me, being on the other side of it, working with his agents and stuff, seeing all that goes into an NFL player was definitely a fascinating experience. But a lot of people left with a positive impact, and I know he hosted 2 days, and the people who hosted the camp really enjoyed our site and the hospitality and those things, and we're hoping to host a few more in the future.
You also got to host the FNA.
Yeah, the flag football championships. It had rained out on the grass field, and so we hosted the flag football championships. Really, really cool. Some future ARCA Eagles on there, some kids from other schools, but it's just I and the athletic director are very big on this being a center point of the community. Mm-hmm. People wanting to come here. This is a school of choice. We want people to choose to come here. And so for us to represent our school positively, our facilities positively, and to be able to work with our amazing partnership we have with the sports complex, who before all this was built was our go-to for many of our facility needs. So definitely a cool experience to do that as well.
Should we expect in the coming weeks decals with that also?
Yeah, so we added Monday Night Moms. It won't be as big of a night as Decals with Dads is for us, but we're gonna do something for the mamas. The mamas, our program can't go without them.
Yeah.
I always say we're a mom-friendly program, because we wash all their clothes here, so we don't let them get in the car with stinky shoulder pads and all that stuff. So now the next part is to let's teach the moms a little bit about the game. We'll go out and show them some drills, and we'll pull some film up, and then there's a guy who did a speech on the importance of mom in the house that I want them to see, and so we'll do that. And then Decals with Dads is our big men's night for us. It's a night of growth. We get speakers. This year I got Super Bowl champion Brandon Mitchell come and speak to our kids and our dads. And Russ Hosmer, who was a bodybuilding champion through the military, who has his own company now that's about growth and progression and those things. Russ actually helped us build this weight room. Wow. So some great people to come and speak to our kids. What's pretty cool is the dads come out of their shells and they speak. Yeah. And they share their experiences. And, it's just a really good night for us. And we get to be able to talk about the importance of dad in the household and what it means. And then we get to have that moment of the dads putting the decals on these helmets and sharing that bond with their son. So,
anything else we can look forward to? Fundraisers? Anything coming up that people should know about besides the blue and red game?
Yeah, well, right now we're on our push for signage. I'll be putting some stuff out on social media, so the school. So we've already gotten renewals on pretty much all of our signs, which is awesome. We still have room for more. And we're expanding into our gym to put signage in the gym and those things. So big push for signage. And then we have a gumbo cook-off, and shame on me for not having the date right here in front of me, but there'll be a gumbo cook-off. It was an awesome event last year that has a lot of room to grow and be something fun, like similar to some of the festivals that some of the local schools host. So that's going to be a pretty good one for us. And then our blue versus white game, they can pay admission, but the big thing is the running of the kinders, which is a tradition we started here, where all 300 of our kindergartners line up end zone to end zone and run across the field for the first time. And so that's a really cool event. And then the parents this year, last year we did detergent. If I showed you the place where we got the detergent stored, it might fall on you so much. I probably won't need detergent for 4 years, but this year we're going to do anything that can hydrate the athletes. So we're going to take hydration as a form of payment at the gate. If they don't want to bring money, they can bring that. So,
talk to me about area of football academic excellence here.
So ARCA is a school, like you cannot make it here if you don't care about your grades. These teachers don't play with you. They don't have time to play with you. The administration does not play when it comes to grades, and I love that. They are student athletes. I heard Kai say it, and that panel up here, these are all kids with good grades, and you look at our post we shared a while back, all the kids with 4.0s, and I'm not saying anything negative about another school. I just know how rigorous academically it is here, and if you have a 4.0 here, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Kai had a 3.8, 3.9, whatever it was. He had 1 B in his report card. I know he was fuming, about that 1 B out of 35 opportunities, 36 opportunities in 1 B. And that's phenomenal for anybody to get those grades, but that's the standard these kids and the school holds them to. So academic excellence has to be a part of our program, because we got to get them ready for the game of life. And less than a percentage of them will play D1 football. They all got to go try and find something after high school. So,
halftime, Coach. Your approach: are you a tactical changes guy or an emotional reset guy?
Just depends on what the moment calls for. So if we see something that we can adjust at halftime, then we make that adjustment. In terms of emotional reset, if you're winning, you want to make sure the kids know not to get too high. If you're losing, what are we doing and what do we need to correct? Yeah. And that's kind of the approach we take. We as coach, we let the kids talk to the kids first. So the kids go in the locker room without coaches. They say what they got to say. The team leadership says they got to say. Then we come in.
Okay. Your ideal tempo of a game, what is it?
Whatever wins the game. If we got to grind the clock out, great. I do like to play with some tempo because it's tough on the defense. Mm-hmm. But again, and I feel like this whole night's been a love fest for the 3 backs. But we got some receivers that can catch the football and those things. We've got an all-world tight end over there. But I think the fact that we have those 3 backs, we should be able to grind some people out. And that was one cool thing about working with Brock Prejean. We were sling the ball over the yard at VC, and when he got there, he was very, in tune with the ground game and those things. And, we'd get up a couple scores, and all right, let's get 2 tight ends and pound it out, And so, and you saw what he did, over the last couple of years running the ball. So, you win on the ground in Louisiana high school football. So, if that's what we got to do to win, if tempo is going to get us points and outscore somebody, great. But you want to put your defense in a good spot, give them some rest, and we'll grind it out, whatever the game calls for.
What's something people outside the program may not understand about the process you're building here?
Football's a lot. Football is a lot. There's a lot that goes into football. As a matter of fact, we're in year 3, and a mom messaged me about pregame meals and like, what's your plan? And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I had a very good group of moms that handled it last year, and now it's my turn to kind of take some of the lead on some of that stuff. And the biggest thing I would tell anybody outside of coaching is it's not just going in the office and drawing the big play on the board. It's all the other stuff that matters, all the way to feeding these kids and, taking care of the entire kid, their emotions and their, what's going on with them. So as far as what we're building, when we get excited, and a lot of coaches in the area understand. Coach Locker was on the other sideline last year. We kneeled the ball in a JV game because we treat it like it's a varsity game.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, Coach, I love it. Like, that's exciting for you guys. And Coach Chop, who was there, said, hey, I was coaching against LCA when they, blew the smoke and ran out the banner for a JV game. So people understand if they've been around it and those things, but it's certainly a process, to say the least.
What separates a good team from a great team in those final minutes?
I'm going to go back to a study I've told the kids about. They asked a group of Navy SEALs, why would you point a loaded weapon at another human being and pull the trigger? And they were given all these choices. And the third most selected choice was it was me or the bad guy. The second most selected choice was I needed to get home to my family. And the most selected choice was I wanted to make sure all of my brothers got home to their families. And so how does that relate to your question? The team that's in those crunch time moments, that learn to lean on each other, that trust each other, that would do anything for each other, are going to be the ones that are successful in those moments. When you have a team, you have a chance to be successful. When you have a collection of talented individuals, your chance of success becomes lower. And so we cite that study all the time because football is a team sport. The guy on the backside of a play being lazy could ruin the whole football game. And so the team that plays as a team and plays for each other at the end will typically be successful.
Okay. Describe an unsung hero and who could take on that role this year.
There's a kid, I love it. He shows up and does a lot of work, and he doesn't get like the public recognition. Our right guard, Maddox Boudreaux, and it's funny because we have all these playmakers. We got Noah, we got Sincere, we got the backs. Our quarterback can do a lot. We got some athletes on defense, but I think you look at a kid like Maddox, who shows up every day, works hard, blocks his tail off. He's a kid who's never going to be in the newspaper for doing those things, but it's a guy like him or our center Grayson Fox, who we're in a shotgun offense, gets the snap to our quarterback every time. Yeah. It's guys like that don't get the recognition in the newspaper. My dad used to say, like, on Friday nights, nobody's going to know your name if you're on the offensive line, but your teammates will never forget it.
Right.
And so I think two guys like that, on the offensive line. I think defensively, I'm really excited to see what our defensive end, Caden Williams, does. He's had a phenomenal offseason. His maturity is off the charts from where it used to be. Athletically, he's doing some pretty special things, and he's a defensive end. And you know how much money they pay in the NFL to rush the passer. Mm-hmm. You got a guy like him who's becoming a great athlete in his own right. I'm excited to see what he could do. He could be an unsung hero for us.
Speaking of offensive lines, I gave Player of the Game honors to an offensive line in a semifinal game, if you remember.
Who would that have been?
Is it the
main
Catholic and Kentwood game?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't do it without those guys. That's the thing. It don't matter how good you are, and one thing about our backs is they got a pretty good bond with those guys. Like they know where their bread's buttered.
Your most powerful faith moment you've ever experienced as a coach, what is it?
Oof. Are you saying like faith in the Almighty or just in general?
Something that's happened that still sticks with you.
But the game of football saved my life because the people I was friends with initially when I first started playing football were going down a not so wise path, and I'm afraid that without football I may have ended up down the same path. So just being able to give back to that. But my time at Westminster humbled me, taught me a lot about myself that I needed to get better at. And so the game of football just provides so many of those opportunities. So that's probably what I would say. Just my entire football experience from the beginning to even now.
Okay, good. What do you emphasize most during your weekly lead up to a game?
So you can't see it. It's on the window over there, but that's kind of like the athletic mantra. The acronym is DECAL. Discipline, effort, commitment, accountability, and leadership. That's kind of like the mantra of our athletic program. And so you got to be disciplined. You got to do what you're coached to do, right? Effort's a big thing. all week. You know, they say you can't coach effort. Well, I think you can emphasize it.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to, as coaches, it's got to be about effort. We started should have been policy, and shame on me, but we started, if once you cross the sideline and you're in between the lines, you cannot walk. You cannot walk. You will be jogging to your next rep, to your station, whatever it is. And so, you know, we'll stop and belly flop them, and they'll get boarded after practice if we catch them loafing and walking around. You know, I think effort needs to be the main focus. And then, you know, one of those kind of our catch-all. It's our everything. You know, everything's about just winning that next rep or bouncing back from the previous rep.
The most difficult thing to overcome in a season, what is it?
Injuries. And it's because you can't predict them. I will say this: our strength and conditioning, other than when I was working with John Thompson, who was a head strength coach in college, I think we do a better job than, other than maybe the STMs of the world, who's world class. You know, I think we do just as good a job as anybody. And one of our big bragging points is we had no soft tissue injuries last year. No hamstrings, no calves, no quads. We've actually rarely had those in our program. We've had some broken bones. We've had some concussions. But injuries are tough. Even at a place like this, we have a lot of kids out for football because you have a guy who's taking all those reps in practice, and you can rep your twos as much as you want, that next man up mentality, all those things, but an injury can certainly derail some things. That changed our season at Westminster. My second year there, we were decimated by injury, and I'd say with the urgent care loved us, but it was tough.
How important is it for your players to know that you see them as people and not just athletes?
Tell them all the time, I have two promises as your coach. I love you and I won't lie to you. You know, and so love is unconditional. It's not transactional. It's not, you know, I don't love you when we win, and I don't not love you when we lose, you know. And so they know that. And I think it's important as a coach that you are vulnerable and you're authentic with your kids. You know, we have them more than their parents sometimes. You think about it, during the school day, a parent drops them off at 6:30, whatever. They don't see them again until 7 o'clock. They eat dinner, they do their homework, they go to bed.
Yeah.
So they see their kids for, you know, an hour, 2 hours a day, you know, and then some time on the weekends, you know. So we got them more than their parents sometimes. So it's important that the bond you're building back here supports what these parents are doing at home, supports the mission of the school you work at, and then, you know, supports these student athletes and their growth and their development, because that's ultimately the most important thing we do. You know, winning games is nice, but like, if you send a bunch of jerks out into the street, then what did you do? You won with a bunch of jerks, you know, and that's not something I could put my head on the pillow and be proud of.
How do you get your players to understand not just what to do, but why they are doing it?
You got to explain it to them. That's the thing. You got to show them and explain it to them. You know, it's just like a classroom teacher. You know, well, why do I got to learn this? Well, here's the practical reason why. You know, but that's kind of how we build out our scheme. You know, this is why we do this, because we're going to run this play to attack this. We're going to run this defense to stop this. This is why you're going here. This is what they can beat you with. This is how you stop it. Those kind of things. But I think those two things go hand in hand. You know, teaching and coaching go hand in hand as well.
Talked about it a little bit earlier. Said come to the sideline, grab a whiteboard. How do you prepare your team to respond if opposing teams throw something unexpected?
Well, it starts with the coaching. It starts on Saturday in the coach's office, making sure we have all the answers. If then, you know, got to go through those scenarios. And what better than the Glenbrook game we've talked about a couple of times? They were double tight, double wing. And we had a whole defense built up to play against double tight, double wing.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they came out and spread. We're throwing the ball everywhere. And we had two safeties get hurt. We had no safeties left. At the beginning, we're like, well, if we don't have a safety, we can spin a backer here and play against that double wing. When they came out and spread, we're like, uh-oh. We had to move a receiver at halftime to safety, Cruz Burley, and it actually ended up finding out that he was a hell of a safety, and now he's the starter there. You know, but, you know, you got to be ready Saturday and then be able to talk to your kids, okay, they do this, but if they do this, you got to be able to do this, those kind of things.
Your biggest question mark going into this year?
Maturity. They know it, and I tell them all the time. We because we're such a young program, I tell them you're young, and I'll excuse youthful mistakes, but I don't like immature things. Talking while a coach is talking, cutting up when we're meeting, or those things. We have to take a huge step forward with our maturity, and that's not just clowning and those things. There's a time and place for everything. It's the old mentality. If somebody scores on us first, the kids would just hang their heads. It's like, okay, here we go again. Now it's understanding that this is a 48-minute football game. Just because they scored first doesn't mean they're going to score last.
Okay.
And so just maturing as a program and continuing to mature and develop.
Position group that has to take the biggest leap this offseason?
The defense. We got to get better defensively, and they know that, and that's why we made the concerted effort to stop the run. Our last game of the season, we had a lot of guys quit on us, and we were counting on some of those guys, and we had some guys get injured, and the defense was not put in good positions last year. But now we have a lot of returners, and we have a really good group, and so the expectation is that the defense is going to do a lot better stopping the run. We got the ball shoved up the tailpipe last year, the last game of the season, and that's unacceptable, because at some point you got to get off a block and make a tackle, and we did not do a good job of that. Injuries are not, effort was not there. We weren't playing as a team. A lot of selfish individuals that are no longer with us, and so we get rid of all that, play as a team, do your job, then we'll be able to take care of those things. So the defense takes a leap forward. I think we can be very, very successful.
Summer's fixing to wrap up. When you look back, how would this group win the summer?
I think they've won the summer. I did the attendance numbers earlier,
There you go.
and I told Coach Scott, our athletic director, I said he's going to make shirts for the perfect attendance guys. I said we'll probably have about 10, and I think we ended up with like 23 perfect attendance, and then more than that, 30-something kids, something to that effect, of kids who missed less than a week of workouts. Our boys of summer and men of summer is what we call it. So, so to me, that's a massive improvement. How do we continue to win it? We get some of those guys that are not rowing the boat. We put a paddle in their hand and make them row, and get everybody rowing the same boat, and I think we'll be good. But I'm just extremely proud of their efforts. We moved our workouts to 6:15 to try and beat the heat, so they can get extra work with their coaches and stuff like that. And it didn't change the attendance numbers. If anything, I thought it was better attended by our kids, kind of having that structure and getting here. So I'm just beaming with pride for it's not easy, and I'm thankful to our kids, but I'm even more thankful to our parents. Our team's so young, not a lot of these kids drive.
Yeah.
So these parents are getting up bright and early to get their kids here. So.
Are you a big multi-sport guy?
Absolutely. I think it's the most important thing a high school kid can do. I think specialization is the death of high school sports, and I think it's borderline shameful what people tell these kids to get them to play these sports, and they use the guise of their college dreams to get them to do some of these things. And I think not just from the physical development part, I think these kids need to hear other voices. So what the 1-0 mindset that I preach in football is not what our basketball coach preaches. He might preach something else, but whatever he's preaching is going to be beneficial to these kids. And then in the spring, if they go to baseball, they go to track, they go to, golf, whatever it might be, hearing the message from other coaches, other high school coaches who are vested in their success, gives them the opportunity to grow as people. Then you can put all the science behind the growth of the athlete. But my thing is, they're going to get 4 years of high school, and they need to enjoy their high school experience. And I think certain people have to stop pushing this D1 dream on kids. Like, hey, you're going to go D1 now. What's your credit card number? Like get that. I'm not gonna cuss on live stream, but get that stuff out of here, man. Like, let these kids be okay with being a really good high school player. And if college is in the cards, then cool.
Figure out when you get there.
Yep. Don't lie to kids, man, and stop telling them to specialize. And look, some kids, I'll tell you the truth. If Noah's still in here, if Noah was 6'8" and was windmill dunking on people, and Duke was calling and said, look, we really want you to play basketball, I may go up to Noah and say, hey, listen, you got $1 million on the table right here. You probably shouldn't be playing football, because I don't want to be the reason he gets hurt and doesn't, But, sometimes I tell the kids we got to live in the world of reality. And sometimes reality is you're going to be a really good high school player, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
There you go. What do you hope your players learn from, let me go back. What do you hope your players learn about life through the lens of football and faith?
Football teaches you the aspect of teamwork like nothing else. I think other than baseball, it probably provides more adversity than any sport. Baseball, what I love about baseball is if you get a 3 out of 10 on a test, you got an F.
Correct.
You got a 4 out of 10 on a test, you still got an F. You hit 4 out of 10 times in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer.
There you go.
So you deal with failure more than success, right? Well, football, you deal with that a lot too, because not every play you run scores. Not every defense you run stops them, right? So how do you react in those moments of adversity? We got to lean on your teammates. And it teaches you unselfishness like no other sport can really teach you, because like I said earlier, the backside tackle could be lazy on his block, and the backside guy runs through and strips the football. Such a minute detail, matters, and that's the thing I tell them. Everything matters in football. The water girl's not paying attention, our player's not getting hydrated.
Everything matters.
Everything and everybody matters.
What is your why?
The 4 F's: family, faith, friends, and freedom. We serve a gracious and almighty God who gives us the opportunity to do these things. He gives these young men the talent to glorify Him. My family is my everything. My wife is the most special human being on the planet. A coach's wife is the most important member of your team because you spend so many hours away, and it's not doing things I want to do. I tell her all the time. She's like, "Oh, you got to go work again." I'm like, "Yeah, honey, I promise you, I'd rather hang out with you and the kids than do eligibility folders or something like that, or go sweep the weight room or whatever it may be." My kids, I want to be somebody that they look up to, that they understand why Daddy was working and why Daddy does all these things, and sending these young men into the world. One day, I hope they're good young men. And then, want to make my friends proud, obviously. And then, we live in the greatest country in the world. It's great to exercise your freedom to be able to do something like this.
Now you're making me miss my 4-year-old and 1-year-old that's waiting for me.
Mine are, let's see, it's 7-13. Yeah, they're up. They're up. They'll greet me when I get home.
I do want to take this time to send my condolences to your father, your mentor in the coaching world that you lost. If you'd like to share some words.
I don't think I could put enough words into the air to describe the impact he had on me personally. But I tell you what, his death and his funeral affirmed for me is how important what we do as coaches, the importance of what we do, because the doors open and it's all blurred to me. Let's just say 3 o'clock. The doors open to the funeral home at 3 o'clock, and the first 15 guys there were coaches.
Okay.
His high school coach drove from Mississippi to come and see him. His high school coach had hired him at Jesuit. The stories I got to hear. I mean, players from all the way back to 1979 came back and saw him. And so I can't say enough of what it meant to be his son, to follow in his footsteps. But man, just what an impact that he had in 53 years of coaching. Yeah. And so I'm lucky. I'm lucky he was my dad, and I know he's got the best seat in the house. And I would say this season's for him. That wouldn't be enough. I just continue to glorify God, and I know that he's with him now.
Absolutely. Coach, let's finish this with the last 3 here. What are you most excited for in year 3, and what are you most proud of from this group here?
I'm excited to see their growth. I'm just excited to see them take those next steps. Now that our schedule is a little more full, I want to see how they handle the rigors of a full season.
Yeah.
And then get them ready to go out and compete. I think they're going to surprise themselves a little bit. I think they're going to go out and achieve some things that they didn't think were possible. And, we call it the watershed moment. Like, what's that moment for you? Last year it was Glenbrook when they realized, okay, we can play with older teams. We can do these things. what's going to be that moment this year? You know, what's going to be that moment that we look at this season with fond memories and those things, and what's going to be that turning point for us?
Message to the alumni community as we head into 2025.
Boys, well, we got like 2 graduating classes. I don't know how much alumni we got. Yeah, something
There you
like
go,
that.
all
Brand
2
new.
of them. Come
Yeah,
on back.
Yeah.
We have a right side of the bleacher for you.
Yeah. So to the community, you know, we have a great administrative team. Our teachers here work extremely hard, you know, year round to provide a great product for our kids. And, you know, Charter Schools USA, you know, provides these facilities and this model for our kids to succeed. And this is a great place. Put all the bells and whistles aside. You know, everybody's here, everybody's happy, and everybody's in here for the right reasons. These kids, their parents have to choose to send them here. The families are heavily involved. And to our community, to our boosters, to our parents, I can't thank you enough, because it's so important that we have your backing and your support to have all of these things for our kids to have the best experience possible. And so we've asked a lot of our parents, monetarily and time-wise and commitment and all those things, and they keep answering the bell. And look, they have a lot of questions, and they should. It's brand new to them, right? And so, you know, it's been a great partnership with those group. You know, we have a supportive administrative team. We have supportive parents. We have good kids. You know, all the things are in place for this to be a great program. Now it's our job as coaches to unlock that potential and for them to take the next step.
Okay. Closes out today with the quote of the day.
All right, so a bee doesn't have to spend his time convincing a fly that honey is better than crap.
Okay.
That was, I read that before they went on today, and I was like, boy, that's great.
That was for you, Corey.
Yeah, you hear that, Corey?
Coach, final words as we close this one out.
Again, to you, you know, to our kids, I'm extremely proud of you for the way you represented our program. The few, the proud, sitting over here. It always seems like these 2 are kind of the last 2 to leave anyway. You know, so proud of our kids. To our parents, thank you. Again, we ask a lot of you. Programs that are successful typically do, and we're trying to be a program like that. To you personally, Jordan, thank you for covering our kids and coming here for us. You know, I'm eternally grateful to call you a friend, and I'm so glad I get to support you in this journey to grow your brand and to grow high school sports. And then, you know, to your panel, to Gary, to all the guys, you know, just thankful that you guys do what you do and have an excitement and passion for it, because that's what it takes. That's what these kids deserve. And lastly, I know she's watching. Shout out to my wife again. You know, there's just no more important person to what we do than her. You know, she's Superwoman, and you know, every day I wake up and wonder how I landed her. It must be my hair and charm, I guess. I don't know, but she's a rock star as a teacher. She's a rock star mama to our kids, and I can be as good as I can be because of her.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, head football coach of the Acadiana Renaissance Eagles, Coach Travis Blaze. Thank you, my friend. It was an honor to be here today.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. 1-0, baby.
1-0, and we're trying to go 2-1 this year, and record-wise, right, Coach?
Yeah, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks everyone for tuning in with us this evening, talking a little Eagle football with the head man himself. Great friend to the program, and it's an honor to be here today, Coach. Thank you again. Hey, get after it. I know what's in store. 1-0. Let's do it.
Amen. Let's do it. Love you, Corey Brody.